We're live. It is the local support meeting, sometimes kickoff, sometimes retro. It's a Thursday, as is our want. Let's go to a view screen here, and let me see if I can find, there we go, a nice untitled something or other. And no, don't do that. Oh, we can just do a quick, that is not doing the thing that there it is, finally. Okay. Yeah, let's work out what we need to cover, if anything. Yeah, Brent, anything on your mind at the moment?
Not specifically. If we've got time, I'd like to go through the new issues you raised on the back of my pull request.
Okay.
Possibly. The only other thing is that I've fixed the embedded map thing, so I pushed that pull request this afternoon.
Yep. Yes. I was just looking at that, and it looks pretty much like it can go through. Nicola, anything on your mind at all about the project?
No, because now yes, I'm going to do the merge with the branch from develop into Rise 5. So yeah, I'm gonna work on that because it's the next step.
Yeah. Yes. Indeed. Yeah, I mean, the things particularly on my mind are, I mean, I've emailed the client, need to have a meeting with the client. I think that the particular things on my mind are client meeting, deploying latest code. I guess, Nicola, of course, you can get everything to staging at the very least.
Yes.
What's the other thing on my mind? Also, we've got, like, I think, lots of open items, in the current iteration. So we've got, there's things that, for example, like Stella or others have started and haven't necessarily, I think other things have come up, and we kind of need to maybe unassign some folks from there and like throw those things back into the backlog. Yeah, stuff that needs to be done.
Yeah, I definitely think the tracker board does need tidying up.
Yeah. And that's something that I think I've made you an owner on there, Brent. If that's something that you were able, like the thing that I would be doing, and it's partly this bloody Anthony Power Society database thing that's gone all wrong and sucked up all my time. But yeah, if we look at what I should be doing, I haven't done for several weeks now, is I basically go through, and so for example, I think, is that now finished or whatever, but I check in with each person on this and like put them in here. And I mean, we can sort of see here is I asked her about that there. Really, if people don't reply to our questions about how the progress is, we should just we can then, like here, you can remove the person from being the owner and just put it back on the backlog. So, I mean, the metric that I would be using, I would go through each of these. I'd look at when was the last thing. I think in this one, I have a feeling actually though this does actually work. I mean, that's the other thing, is a check. Is it just that it has been finished in a bit, that there wasn't the GitHub commit thing connected to it, so it's just like there are hanging this, that, and the other. I think that was like some weird error that I was getting locally.
I have a question about the issues that we have on GitHub. Because from time to time, I see that you create those issues. How should we manage those?
Yeah, so that's a funny thing. So here, I think this one is actually finished and is kind of out there. So that's one that's trying to sort it out. Yeah, it's a good question about the GitHub. That's a kind of, I don't know that we'd ever strongly like tried to use those issues. When we very first started up, we had the GitHub for the code and we had the pivotal tracker for the thing, and there weren't any open issues. Airbrake, like when we have an error in production, automatically opens an issue on here. Yeah. I mean, and then occasionally I think we have people, like, for example, who they're trying to do the install And I mean, that's the other thing about the pivotal tracker is unless you're actually invited in, you can't open an issue. So, you know, sometimes people who are just like, they've discovered the thing on GitHub and they're trying to install like this person, then and I think they're there. And the problem is that, you know, I think I've just completely missed that. You know, he's told that there, and there's probably a fix for that, but I've missed an opportunity to onboard somebody there. So, you know, we can see that some of these things, the thing with the air brake errors is like, I mean, like if the site is kind of, I mean, this could also do with a cleanup of looking through, like, for example, I mean, you can see that this geocoder, I think that one has been, like you can see us chatting on there. I think we're not getting those anymore, so I'll just close that. But so yeah, a similar thing applies in terms of the tracker. There's a fairly simple metrics of looking at an individual thing, particularly if it's an old one, checking is this actually relevant at the moment. You know, like we've got here, like 2015, someone, you know, this. So everything's okay after that. And yeah, I mean, that just seems like that. So, but if you want to, I'm, you know, absolutely the responsibility is mine, and I haven't done enough to keep things tied up. But every bit of help, you know, from you folks, like managing tickets and issues and so on, so much appreciated.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah,
feel empowered. Don't. I think it's you know, I think all of these things like closing them and what have you, they can always be restored. It's not, they can always, so I think, you know, better, I've definitely, my wife laughs when she hears me say this. I've got to the point where I say, you know, we should clear out and have less stuff around. You wouldn't, I mean, you can see parts of my office. It's not really, I believe in the theory of it. I haven't yet worked out the practice. So
it sounds good, this decluttering, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's like, I want it to work. So yeah, that was a question there. So yeah, so Nicola, you're happy for that if you can get that.
Sure.
Yeah, I think all my tests locally are fine. If you can get that green with Stomatius's thing pulled in, maybe you could even merge that and take that all the way to staging if you want.
Okay, cool.
Get that Rails 5 out there. I mean, that's the one that I assume it will be fine on Heroku. It's just before we push it onto the production server, we should do some, you know, not kicking things around on staging. We've also got that the fix there from Brent for the embedded pull request there, which can I just quickly merge that in? That seemed like that's kind of a it's a, you know, simple fix. We've got to check here. I mean, and I guess the only thing on here is the way in which the scenario step here is kind of conflating the two things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I couldn't get it to work to break it into two. It was weird. I did try that.
Right, and maybe that's impossible. The thing that I imagine that one would need in order to break it into is that you need to have a couple of step divisions, and you need to have an intermediate variable. So you would need to have like at what is it, like, you know, number of windows.
Well, it's not that. It's the way that, so because you're clicking a click box on the pop-up.
Yes.
There's this whole other step where you have to flatten the DOM and stuff to get to it because it's like generated by JavaScript.
Okay.
So if you look at that, so if you look at the
table, I can see that, and then check info box opens in new window, in new page.
You probably could.
But still, I mean, there's two. I mean, I guess that the key thing is like this could be one step, and this could be the other step. If we stored the number of windows before and after. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but without that first step, because the expect is wrapped in that step. Because if you don't have that,
well, it is because you're doing the wrapping. But for example, like
no. So I don't mean the click is wrapped in the expect. The expect is inside a do as well.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's
inside. Yeah. It's inside the volops.where title, I think.
Right, but you could leave the click link name inside the do.
Yeah.
Right, and then have the expect afterwards.
Okay, I see what you're saying now. Yeah.
And so it would be more like we would insert. I mean, it's not quite the right place, but we would have expect at number of windows to, like, what would it be? We would kind of
to change.
No, it would be have that number of windows to equal, and it would be the previous one, like number of windows plus 1. Where this was still, and presumably that's a function that we call to get the number of windows, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think there are people who sort of detest this style in that they don't like us putting in like the initial step where we check what the number of windows are. Do you know what I mean? Like it would require, like it requires doing this in the first place.
Right, yeah.
And then doing the action that we expect to change it, and then just checking that this is increased by 1 over the previous one. And it might seem like a trivial, like why even bother? I guess this is sort of standard for ideally the steps are kind of, whenever we see like a when or an and or a then in the statement, it's kind of breaking the cucumber scenario flow. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sort of, yeah.
Anyway, I mean that again, that could be a refactoring. There's, it's hardly worth splitting hairs over when there's, such a straightforward fix that we should get out and make the thing work better for the client, so to speak. So maybe that's something to turn into another refactoring ticket.
Yeah.
And we can just merge that in. I don't think that this will interact negatively with the Rails 5. So yeah, maybe what we can, just pop that in there as a refactor. Break. I think I had it on one of the other ones as well. Break step. Equal to. So this would have to be like, it still becomes messy and whatever. I'll hopefully clean this up in a second. Let's just grab those elements out of there, merge it in, and then where's it gone? There it is. It's about using instance variable, and I know Ryder was like, I hate like KickOff because it's like you're setting all these instance variables and it's like you're polluting the global namespace, and it's like, oh. Anyway,
I didn't realize you could do that. Although, yeah, I didn't, because that was, how do you pass from one to other?
Yeah, this is basically how you can pass from one to other.
Right.
And some people think that that's evil, and I like it when the high level scenario reads as it's supposed to, if you know what I mean. And also it's in the right order. But yes, so I think that's kind of all of our stuff addressed there. I can maybe merge this one. I keep on going there, it's totally the wrong thing. Great work getting that sorted, Brent. Let's merge that. Okay, and how are we doing there? We've got anything to do. So yeah, I can leave that to you, Nicola, to
I will
get that in. Yeah, Nick, I think it's still going to take him a while to continue working on this, and yeah, I can do a session with him coping with the Rails 5 stuff. Anyway, we can't keep on holding it off forever, I don't think. Yeah, so then the only other thing becomes, yeah, looking through some of these refactoring things. Yeah, so this one actually here, well, so there was a few that I created. I mean, I guess the big thing, are there any that anyone wants to vote on?
I didn't check, but we can vote.
Yeah. Brent, I think you did. Did you look at some of them, or you wanted to have your questions about some of them?
I've not looked at them. No, I'd sort of left because I thought we'd go through them in today's. Now, if we haven't got time, that's fine. I can look through them. But
well, yeah. I mean, I think we've actually, unless there's anything else that I'm missing, I think we're kind of good. So there is a time to sort of look at them, and I guess it's it's worth just doing that. I guess I'm kind of conflicted at the moment. I'm torn. I feel like there's so many things on website one, particularly now I've hooked up the air brake again properly, and I'm getting I'm now finally getting air brake messages when the site's really slow, and it is, it does happen with some frequency. And so I'm kind of a bit torn of like, the local support, it's such a low traffic site that there's, I mean, there's the urgency is to get certain features out to the client, but it's, it's not a problem there. And but anyway, so the refactorings feel like relatively low priority, but it's good to maybe explain what these things are. Did I actually? Well, this refactoring, that was one that you suggested, Brent, which is pulling the partials into a single place. I've got this one here, kind of a note. I don't know if this would do the same thing as the thing that you just created, Brent, but on my previous searches I hadn't found this, and I was just like, when I was checking in your thing and thinking, yes, but why doesn't Google Analytics do this? And so I found this, which is like maybe an alternative, but even then it might not do the right thing. I just wanted to like leave it there as a kind of, we had a reference to it.
Yep.
So that's that's something. So this one here, like refactor, adjust volunteer op step split over 2. And so this one, what have we got? I think this is the same thing as what I've just been looking at.
Right.
And so here, it's about the number of windows. So I kind of put up these things here. So this is it's another version of the same sort of thing. It's less complicated here because it doesn't have that having to flatten the DOM or what have you. But it's I think the particular thing I have here is I think that the English reads kind of strangely. Like I should open something in a new window. It's kind of like an RSpec syntax. If we go, I have opened that already, haven't I? So I think, and these are things not that you'd introduced, Brent. I was just reading through the scenario because you'd added a thing to it. So this one is that given I visit the volunteer opportunities page, then I should open Charity Treasure in a new window. Is it my imagination, or is that actually kind of like seem like a sort of an odd statement?
You mean the use of Charity Treasurer?
No, I think it's particularly the should.
The should work.
Yeah,
because the user it has to do that.
So it should be then the charity opens in a new window or something like that.
Well, this is the thing, is that this is a background step that we're on that page. I mean, the ideal thing, it seems to me, if I just pull this up, is that if we're looking at a Cucumber story like this, the standard pattern is, given some background step, then it should say, if there are other things that you do. I mean, clearly, when I open, or when it should be like when I click Charity Treasurer.
Then it should open in a new window.
Right, and then we say then we do like it should open in a new window, or then it will open in a new window.
Okay.
I mean, they're it could be whatever, like so.
So again, how will that step know what's opened in a new window?
Well, so the way that it would do it, and I've just got in here, is that we need to like have a background step where we set this instance variable.
Right. Okay.
So I mean in a feature file like the one that we have here, where we're potentially doing that in many cases, we could pop into the background step, and there is current, you can put it in like, and we know the number of windows currently open.
Yeah.
Say,
okay. Yeah.
Set it, and then check that it's increased by 1 after this action. And it's not as precise as the expect with the round and expected to change by 1. But I think the priority with the Cucumber is to make the language, as comprehensible as possible. I mean, of course, maybe I'm splitting hairs here. Maybe this is completely bike shedding. You know the phrase bike shedding?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, from the nuclear power stations where they were, like arguing about what color the bike sheds should be or something, and like how the design of the bike sheds. It's like, okay, well, let's not spend all of our time on that. Let's focus on the safety of the nuclear power station.
Yeah.
But yeah. So it's yeah. I mean, it's not a big deal, and that's partly why I put it into a refactoring.
Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying, and I guess it's good practice, isn't it? So.
Yeah. Well, I think the opinions may differ on that. I think some people don't like this.
So when I meant good practice, I wasn't referring to it as being good as in best practice. I meant it's good practice for somebody who's learning.
Yes, absolutely.
Who's learning Cucumber. Yeah,
that's right. It's definitely a good practice thing. Make a small change. Experiment with those stuff. I think it's arguably best practice in terms of the way that the Gherkin syntax is used. Then there's the questionable. We're creating a effectively, it's not a global variable, but a variable that has scope over. It's going to have scope over all of these steps, which are these different methods. But at the same time, that's what you do when you create an instance variable on a class. And anyway, so that's that one. And I think that one is in fact the same as the one that I was just creating. And then, the other one here is just about using guard clauses. There are a few places in that, where we've got if else, and the reading of them might be simplified if we did return something if, and then add the other thing. So, yeah. So, can I think with these 3.
Yep. I'm happy to take them. Yeah.
Well, what I was just thinking is, in order to save time here, unless anybody, like, rather than necessarily going through the whole voting process, which seems like it's probably, unnecessary use of time and resources for these things, shall we just set all of these to 1?
Yeah,
they all involve pretty basic changes, and we can all then have a little bit more time for other things. Yeah. And they become their. Feel free to mark some of them beginner friendly if you want. The other what have I done now? That's 1, 1, 1. Oh, I can just actually I can set them by just clicking that there. That one's kind of complicated. That one I don't know, but we can.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can just actually set that. Yeah, you go. Nice. Yeah, Pivotal's got lots of nice features. There's a nice, you can do like things blocking each other and requiring other tickets and this and that. So definitely, Brennan, if you've got a chance to pass through the current iteration things and throw some of them back into the backlog, that would be wonderful. Similarly for Nicola, if you're able to do cleanup on the issues, that's outstanding. It would be so helpful. And I'm trying to set up a meeting with the client, and we'll get this all deployed and get it all on. Hopefully, we'll be happily on Rails 5 before too long.
Yep. Yeah. Awesome.
All right, it's great stuff. Well, I think that let's wrap that up there, and look forward to probably see you both tomorrow.
Yep, absolutely.
Great. All right, bye for now.
Bye.
Take care.
Later. Have a good evening. Cheers.
Cheers.